Welcome back, everybody. It's Mike here from I don't even know if we got a name. What are we? The Mike and Joe and Mike thing, podcast, whatever. Anyways, welcome back. I know you've been seeing a lot of Joe lately. I haven't really been on my game much, but I'm here today because man, in the realm of hip hop music, we got something groundbreaking this weekend. Kendrick Lamar finally addresses Drake, and not only Drake, but J. Cole as well. Now, I'm not just going to talk about this specific song. I want to give a little bit of context for anybody who, like, is kind of confused or is like, okay, like this is one verse from Kendrick. What was really like the big deal? But this goes pretty deep. So let me just give like I'm going to try to give a little bit of detail on the relationship with all of them as best as I can. Drake Drake kind of got on the scene before the three of them, but they were all pretty much around the same time. The first sort of meeting between Kendrick and Drake was in 2011 off of what some people would say is Drake's best album, Take Care. He put Kendrick on it on an interlude, kind of before Kendrick like really blew up. And Kendrick was talking about a lot of things at the time about how like he's the same age as Drake, and it made him very rude and impatient because he saw that this level that Drake was at that he was not at yet. And then after that, Drake would take him on tour following that album, the Club Paradise tour. So he really kind of took Kendrick under his wing. Was on Kendrick's first studio album, Good Kid, Mad City, the song Poetic Justice, great record. And yeah, I mean to start off Kendrick's career, they were like they were cool. And then in 2013, Kendrick dropped a record, or he was featured on a record with Big Sean called Control, and he kind of he literally by name dissed basically all of like the big artists in hip hop at the time, and Drake was on that list. And Drake kind of took the most offense to it. He was in interviews talking a lot about it, like saying how it was just a moment, and that like it wasn't real because he had saw him after, and he kind of made it seem like it was all love and things like that. So Drake is on record saying he didn't really respect it, and he would also respond in this is the part I'm trying to get right here. The language on Nothing Was the Same, he responded. And then he hopped on the Future remix, the song Shit. He hopped on the remix of that, and he said he had some lines towards him there. Kendrick then that year did a BET cipher where he shot directly at Drake again. And he said, nothing been the same since they dropped Control and tucked the sensitive rapper back in his pajama clothes, which was fire line. But yeah, it seemed like right then and there, like we were gonna kind of get Kendrick versus Drake. And it didn't happen. Instead, over the following years, we would get just kind of shots being thrown back and forth here and there, subliminal. The one J Rock song, Pay for It, I remember Kendrick, he had some lines about Drake. King Conta, he was dissing Drake, with the lines about the whole ghostwriting situation. Drake was just if you're reading this is too late came out, and I think on 6 p.m. in New York, and used to where he said they gonna hit you like it's only rap. So like we really as and of course J. Cole is there, but at the time it's really like it's Drake and Kendrick. It's one and two, and everybody's kind of waiting for this whole this thing to really happen. And I think in 2016, when Drake dropped Views, sold 1 million in a week, it kind of seemed like they were on two different paths, and they weren't really addressing each other like that. But then in 2017, Kendrick would drop an insanely critically acclaimed album, Damn, which was like, it's nothing new for Kendrick to drop a critically acclaimed album, but it was popular. Like it was very popular music. It had number one songs on it. The album sold over 600,000 units first week. Like, and for that year, he was as big as Drake, like popularity wise. So there was a real discussion. Not to mention too, The Heart Part 4, he was dissing Drake, and also on the song Element off of Damn. So it kind of seemed like again, that was one of those moments where we thought, okay, this is gonna happen again, right? A couple of years ago, we thought it was gonna happen, but it didn't. So now we're like, wow, this is finally gonna happen. And guess what? Nothing happened. Nothing happened. In fact, Drake embraced Kendrick during this time again when he would I think he was talking about how like Kendrick had like the best or was selling the most of that year, and Drake kind of like bigged it up or whatever, which was cool. However, that next year Drake would take that away from Kendrick. Drake dropped Scorpion, which had 3 number 1 singles. Album sold, I think, over 750,000 units first week. Was massive, just a massive album. Um, and I think there was he dissed him. And by the way, I'm not uh, putting a list of all the subliminals that they've thrown over the years, because I mean it's a lot, and then it just comes into speculation or every time they mention each other. So I'm not going to do all that. But so by this point now it's 2018. Drake is in that back and forth with Pusha and Kanye. So we're not really thinking about Kendrick and Drake. But at that time, I think 2017 is when they were really like neck and neck with just like popularity wise, just everything. So I feel like if you ask me, I wish this would have happened in 2017. I really think that it would have been like it would have really changed a lot of things. But regardless, so now to fast forward a little bit, it's the end of 2019, and Drake does an interview with Rap Radar after being like artist of the decade, kind of just wrapping that up, and he kind of alluded to like them being all cool, him, Cole, and Kendrick. And he's just kind of like, hey, I look forward to the next decade of seeing like who can continue, just competitive stuff and things like that. However, Kendrick would take a pretty big hiatus from 2017 to 2022. So, there really wouldn't be much to like. I mean, there's some subliminals from Drake that you could look at and say, yeah, maybe, but nothing like X in stone. Now, during this time, I do want to also note that J. Cole was beginning to, in the beginning, it was always like Drake, and then it was Kendrick had some years in between, and then it was Drake, and Cole was always dropping some great records, but he was never seen as the number 1 guy out of the 3. However, in the later 2010s and the early 2020s, Cole kind of seemed like he was gearing up to get his shot at the number 1 spot. So that's all happening too. And Drake is embracing that. Drake and J. Cole don't have a history of, beef or anything with each other. Again, kind of the same story with the beginning of Kendrick and Drake's career. Drake hopped on Cole's first album on the song In the Morning. They also did a song Jodeci Freestyle. So they were always cool. And Kendrick and J. Cole were tight, like really good friends. A lot of production. Kendrick's first big single, High Power, J. Cole produced. There were long rumored collab album between the two of them, which never ended up dropping. They did a lot of cool things, featured on each other's albums. Did that whole Black Friday thing where J. Cole took one of Kendrick's beats and Kendrick took one of Cole's beats, and they both rapped over it and dropped it on SoundCloud. So they always were in good standings. Kendrick did the hook on Under the Sun off of the Dreamville compilation project that Cole was on in 2019. So yeah, they were always in good standings. So now, again, 2020, COVID, nothing really going on. I mean, Drake is consistently dropping throughout this time. J. Cole's dropping some good features. But other than that, not much. 2021, Cole drops The Off Season, great album. Drake drops Certified Lover Boy, and Kendrick, there is a Kendrick sighting. He is featured on the lead single off of Baby Keem's album called Family Ties. And Kendrick's back on there saying, don't address me unless it's with 4 letters. Like he's talking that talk. So then everybody's kind of like, wow, okay, Kendrick's back. And turned out being so that he was. In in May of 2022, after 5 years of a wait, he would drop Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. Now, I revisited this album again, which I love this album personally. I know a lot of people aren't like the highest on it, but I really do think it's a strong album, and I don't know. I really enjoy most of the songs on there. Um, no really direct disses at Drake. Oh, the only thing I can really look at is, well, Father Time, when he addresses the whole Kanye Drake situation. Um, Guess I'm not mature as I think, got some healing to do, which is, pretty funny looking back on it now. But also Rich Spirit, where he says, "Stop playing with me before I turn you to a song." Like, I don't know. I mean, that's open to interpretation. But anyway, still kind of nothing. While Drake is like consistently dropping, and Drake's not like outright dissing Kendrick, but around like 2023, like, or even 2022 on Churchill Downs, which a lot of people fail to realize about this verse. Obviously, like, people go to like the obvious things, um, and it's a great verse. But when he says same ones that say they run the game when they're not even in it. I think he was addressing Kendrick there, because by that point Kendrick still hadn't dropped since 2017. So and Drake has made a lot of references like in shows. I remember I was at his show recently, and he was just kind of like, "Man, these dudes are taking 5 years off, this and that." Like, you can just tell he's been talking to Kendrick. Like, he wants Kendrick to kind of come out and say something. But at this point, it's like, okay, Kendrick is, especially after, if you listen to Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, Kendrick seems like, this family man. He's kind of over, he's not really too concerned about the number one spot in rap, things like that. Kind of like the point where J. Cole was at in like 2016, 2017-ish, before he, got back on it, went on his feature run and things like that. And so everybody kind of just thought that's kind of what it was. Drake and Cole's relationship got a little bit stronger, and they would collaborate on the number one song, First Person Shooter. And I always thought it was interesting, this song, because like Cole was always talking about the mentioning the big three, but Drake was making it clear the whole time, like, it's just me and Cole. It's not nobody else, aka not you, Kendrick. So I always thought that was a little interesting. But one thing I didn't realize was the possible disses that Cole was sending to Kendrick on the song, as well as the secret recipe with Lil Yachty. And I thought that, I don't know, just personally, like, I just didn't, I don't know, I didn't think that was, just wasn't in my mind. But I guess apparently, and then Drake and Cole, they go on tour together. They also do another song on Scary Hours 3, / For All the Dogs Deluxe. And that's it. And until Friday morning, when Kendrick jumps on one of Future's songs off his new album, off a song called Like That, and is just very, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and explain to you guys bar for bar. Just go listen to it, because the one thing is, reading these lyrics don't do it justice. You have to listen to Kendrick's delivery. And one thing I will say is, it made me like excited to hear Kendrick like that again, because I kind of thought that Kendrick wasn't really competing anymore, and it's just, I don't know. At least I can safely say that this has been the most excited, or just the most entertaining hip hop's been in probably about 6 years, I would say. Um, I mean, incredible music has dropped in between that time, but there's just a difference. This is March Madness. Like, this is championship basketball right here. And it's just really cool that, my my big rappers from my childhood, they're still at it. And I love that. I think that that's incredible. You know? So I guess now what I want to discuss is what happens next. And I think that's the most important part about this, because whatever happens next is going to affect all of these guys' legacies. If Kendrick comes back out like this and shoots, and Drake and Cole don't respond, that that hurts Drake and Cole. It hurts Drake because Drake already didn't respond to Pusha T, which I still think he won that battle, but perception is everything. He didn't respond to Pusha T. Now he's not responding to Kendrick. Just a little, I don't know. I just think that has to play a role, and especially when you have been inviting this, you've been wanting this for 12 years, basically. You got it now. You got to go now. You got to say something. If Cole doesn't respond, it's kind of like, okay, well, these last 5 or so years, in every single feature, you've been saying how you are, the greatest. Nobody like, um, if I smoke a rapper, it's going to be legit. Like you have a reason now. You have the actual chance to like, if Cole jumps out before Drake does and shoots at Kendrick and like bodies him, Cole is at a point and then drops the fall off and it's everything that we think it's going to be. Cole can leap ahead of Kendrick and possibly Drake. Possibly, I said possibly. But it puts him in a much different discussion than just like, oh, he's third. Like people already are starting to see how great J. Cole is. If he does that on top of it and then drops the fall off and it's a classic, I mean, and then now vice versa, if Kendrick after this track, if Drake does respond and it bodies Kendrick, now that debate for Drake is forever put to rest. And he now officially has everything over Kendrick. Everything. We are also now about to see Kendrick really be battle tested because yes, he's thrown his shots at Drake. Yes, he's thrown his shots at Big Sean, but he's never actually engaged in rap in like this much competitive rap back and forth direct. That's something him and Cole both haven't really done with the big dogs. Drake has done that multiple times. So I say that to say is, ironically though, it still seems like Drake has the most to lose here. And that's because Drake is the greatest out of all of them. I love all three of them. You're not going to get me. I'm not going to tear Kendrick and Cole down to tell you why I think that, because I enjoy all of their music. But to me, Drake is just, I don't know if it's I'm able to relate to it more. I'm more excited for a Drake drop than out of the three. But I'm very excited for when any of them drop. And then it also makes me think like we really don't have a next generation of hip hop to do this with. Like we have some great newcomers, but nobody that I can see is going to be making noise like this and just making rap entertaining like this again. So I'm really just trying to live in the moment and just enjoy whatever the outcome is. But if you would have asked me last week, like I didn't think that there was much that these three can always add to their legacy, but I didn't think there was much that could happen that could hurt their legacy. But now that Kendrick has jumped out the woodwork with this, it's like, man, we could see some, we could see some real moving in the rankings happen. Because also if both of say Cole and Drake respond and then Kendrick comes back again and wipes them, Kendrick has a legitimate case to be the greatest of all time. Because I see it as like you're checking boxes, right? And it's like this box. Like Kendrick, like discography, check. Like rapping ability, check. Hit making ability, check. Because yes, that does matter. That does matter. Sorry. Checking all these boxes, except for that one. That one goes to Drake, whether people like to admit it or not, because Drake is actually battle tested. Now this puts Drake in a tough spot because I feel like Drake has to respond. I feel like Drake has to respond more than J. Cole. If J. Cole doesn't respond, it's going to be like, oh, man, okay, well, you just kind of stay where you are. If Drake doesn't respond to this, I'm going to be pretty disappointed because I am expecting a response. In fact, I just want to go on Twitter now and just check, see if we get a response or not. that was my biggest worry. My biggest worry was I was going to record this and Drake was going to drop a track. Now, that I will say Drake has a show the night I'm filming this at 6 o'clock right now. Drake has a show in Miami tonight. So I'm curious to see if he at least says something. I have a hard time believing that he won't say anything just because it's just not who Drake is. But another quick thing too is the whole future Drake thing. Obviously it seems like they're now, no longer friends. I'm cool with that. I do enjoy Future and Drake songs, but I wasn't the biggest fan of What a Time to Be Alive. I don't really need that, that's cool. Whatever. I think if the reason that they're beefing is true, I think that's kind of embarrassing for two 40-year-olds, but nevertheless, it is what it is. But yeah, man, I'm really excited about this. As you can tell, this is like, you remember these moments, right? Like I remember 2015 waking up in the morning and back to back dropping. 2016 when Big Sean dropped No More Interviews, shooting at Kendrick. 2017 when Kendrick drops The Hard Part 4. 2018 when the whole Pusha T Kanye thing is happening and Drake drops Duppy. And I just feel like it's been a while since we've had something like this in hip hop, and I really do feel like hip hop has needed this. And I want to thank Kendrick. I really want to thank Kendrick because we was in a drought in this department. Look, I don't like the hip hop beef that can turn violent. I like when we're just being competitive. Like that's how it used to be. People just used to be competitive. Then you go back to being friends. You don't gotta hate each other. I don't think these three guys actually hate each other, but it's a competitive sport, and you want to win. So it's like all bets are off to me. I will give some predictions though. I think I just find it so hard to believe that Drake won't respond. Like I don't. He has been begging Kendrick to do this for years. Now he could take the route like okay. I think the show tonight is going to be telling because I think that there's a world where um he might get on stage tonight and be like, "Oh, you finally want to rap after 12 years, like fuck out of here," or something like that. If Drake takes that approach, then he takes that approach. I'll be disappointed, but that's the only way I can see him not responding to this. Um I think Cole will respond. I'm just curious to see if he's gonna do it in like I don't know. We're gonna really find out if Cole really does have an issue with Kendrick and really has been throwing subs at him lately. Because it doesn't seem like Kendrick's for play. And if Cole's gonna come on with the whole, hey, I love you, you're my brother, like something like that, like I would rather him just keep it. But I also wonder too, like if Cole and Drake are discussing, I pray to God they don't drop a song together. But I wonder too if they're discussing like, hey, are you about to drop a song or are you about to? Because that timing could get weird. Honestly, I've never seen anything like this, and I'm so happy right now because I mean this is everything I've ever wanted in rap, man. It's like the big three just absolutely is we're finally getting well we might fingers crossed we might finally be getting down to the bottom of some things. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. If Drake responds tonight or tomorrow, I will be making another video about it, so no worries there. But it's currently Saturday afternoon that I'm recording this, so nobody has responded to Kendrick or no one has responded to Kendrick yet. So yeah, let me know what you guys think is gonna happen. And yeah, I guess we'll see. Alrighty. See you guys on the next one.